So in this episode, guys, I go into a tactic which works right now for you to make a lot of money in property right now, especially as the market is falling, especially as the stock market is falling. So make sure you listen to this episode. I go deep and explain exactly how you can use a strategy that I've been using for many years. The last time in the 2008 crash, this was the strategy to use, okay, guys? The time has come back, it's gone round again, so now is the best time where you pull this tool out of the toolbox and use this strategy right now. It enables you to buy a property now, but pay for it later. Did you hear that? Buy a property now, but pay for it later. Listen to the full episode where I go deep and explain exactly how you guys can do this. The big question, my friends, is this. How did I buy over 200 high cash flowing properties since the millennium using the best no money down strategies from planning gains, refurbs, off plan, guaranteed rent, lease options, student lets, service accommodation, HMOs, negative equity, and dozens more to build a multi-million pound property portfolio and then lose everything, including my wife, my children, all of my money and my liberty, when I was sent to prison for a crime committed by a lifelong friend, and then start over in £175,000 of debt, and now in 2020 have to restructure my entire companies and fast, using the most up-to-date high cash flowing strategies to pull my company, my partners, and my listeners through this economic crash. I'm Ryan Otto, and this top-rated business podcast will give you all the answers. So when the property market is not rising, which is exactly where we are right now, effectively it's not going to rise, it's actually falling and going to keep falling until who knows where the bottom is, okay? Now, I'm not going to bore you with all the statistics and the stats and the numbers and everything else. You guys know what's going on in the world right now. We're in March 2020. You've seen the news, you've seen the amount of cases of coronavirus and the impact it's having on the high street, car phone warehouses disappeared. Not that that's, of importance. I mean, just like that, restaurant chains, pubs, bars, clubs, companies, businesses, organizations, they are just being wiped out of the high street. They're gone. Maybe they will never come back, okay? So I don't need to keep going on how bad things are. There's always opportunities, but you know how bad things are. What that means is the stock market has crashed. What that means is the property market will follow because naturally people are losing their jobs. Naturally, when you lose your job, you haven't got money to pay the bills and the mortgages. So repossessions rise, okay? Now, if you just imagine and people losing their jobs, haven't got the money to pay the rents, etc. So the demand is not as much anymore like it was, and with the impact of Brexit as well. So there's less people and basically not a lot of money going around and people very, very nervous and panicking. Now, we've seen this in 2008, okay? Any of you guys that have been through a crash, been in property, 2008 and at the end of around the millennium as well, okay, guys, at the end of the dot-com boom where it had a little dip or a little wobble. So any of you guys been investing for a while? I've been investing for 2 decades now, since 99. So yes, I've seen some peaks and troughs and some bull markets, some bear markets and everything else in between, and managed to make money in the market when it's rising, managed to make money in the market when it's static or plateaued, managed to make a lot more money in the market when it is falling or crashing, exactly how it is right now. So it's very important that you're educated, you're listening to this podcast and other podcasts or other, decent educational channels so you can have a good picture. So you're in a very good position, because once this is over, which everything comes to an end, as you guys will know in your life, you go through the bad times and then they stop and then the good times come, okay? So when this is over, I just want all of you guys, all of my listeners to be in a position where you have the information. You have the knowledge, you have the fire, you've got the skills, you've got the confidence for you to go out and capitalize on the market, on, well, your life, on the opportunities that are here. Capitalize, just seeing the world for the opportunities that are there every single day. Because as this is falling, there's opportunities all the way down. And the only difference is, it's the strategy. The strategy that works right now, which we exhausted 2008, 9, 10, 11, is a completely different strategy to what you could use 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. The timing is now for this strategy. Now, this strategy I want to talk to you guys about right now is about buying a property now, but paying later. So let me just repeat that. Buying a property now, but paying for it later. That might not make sense to many of you guys listening here, my audience. So I just want to make sure that you guys understand there is a way, a legal way, that you can buy a property now and pay for it later. Now, that enables you to actually buy a property for £1. Now, you may not believe me when I'm saying buy a property for £1, but you can buy a property for £1. Now, the reason why it's £1 is because it has to be a minimum of £1 for it to be legal, okay? For it to be legal through the solicitors to make sure that it's a binding contract and everything else, you have to, physically put £1 down, okay? So that's the reason why you can buy a property for £1. So, as you guys know, it's different times and a different climate that we live in now. So this strategy is where you get to buy now and pay later. And if you can imagine, let's go back before we go forwards. If you can imagine, since 1942, not imagine, this is the stats, this has happened, this is real. Since 1942, property prices have risen at around 7% every single year, okay? Now that's an average. So what they say is since then, there's a cycle, a property cycle where values have doubled on average every 10 years, okay? So if you bear that in mind, property prices normally double every 10 years based on historical data. This is facts, not fiction, not guesswork, not my friend said down the pub, not my opinion or someone else's opinion. This is using the data behind us. Every 10 years, it's a property cycle, and property prices have doubled. So since 1942, they've risen on average at around 7% a year. Of course, there's peaks and troughs, so there's ups and downs and booms and busts and crashes and, a bull market, bear market, and things are flat and there's no change, but on average, those numbers, okay? So just imagine, as the market is falling now, which I think everybody listening to this podcast agrees, you've seen what's happening on TV, you've seen the stock market all over the world is crashing, okay? Let's just assume it's as bad as 2008. Let's not assume it's going to be any worse because nobody knows, but it could be. But whatever happens, there is going to be house prices falling, okay? However you look at it, they will fall, okay? Now, let's assume they fall by 20%, okay? Let's just say 20%. They actually fell by, I think, around about 28% on average or around the 2008 crash. But let's just be modest and say they fell by 20%. So you've now got vendors which are looking to sell their property because they will still want to sell. People will still want to move. People will need to sell quickly. People will need to sell to relocate. People will need to sell for bereavement. People will need to sell for relocating, divorcing, separation. Maybe they just haven't got the money as well. They want to sell because of, financial burdens. Maybe they just haven't got the money to pay the mortgage, okay? And they don't want to be repossessed. There's a multitude of reasons of why somebody may want to sell, okay? So that person wants to sell, but they bought the property within the last, say, 2 or 3 years. So they bought at the peak of the market, okay, when the market was high. And Now the market has fallen or falling. Let's just assume it falls 20% or even 10%. Let's just say it's fallen 10%, okay? Or quickly 10%. Right now, you could easily get property 10% below the market value, okay? But let's say it goes on a few more months and this is bad, gets worse, and then the problems start filtering through the property market where people have lost their jobs and they haven't got any money, etc., etc. So let's assume it loses 20% just in a couple of months or a few months, okay? Anybody who bought a property in the last 3 years or so, if the price has now fallen by 20%, they haven't got any equity, okay? Depending on how much of a mortgage they took out. But let's not think about the negative equity at the moment. That's something completely different. What I want you guys to think about right now is if the property has fallen by 20% or even 10%, you use this strategy to buy now to lock in a price right now. So let's just say you can buy a property right now at 10 or 20% below the value that it was just a few months ago. However, the way that you use this strategy of buying now and paying later is you get to buy the property on paper today, right, at this new price, this new low price that you've negotiated because the market is bad, because the market is falling. So that's why you have all the leverage. That's why you are in a position to negotiate, because there's less people looking to buy because people are panicking, people are nervous, people are running and hiding, people don't understand the market, they're not taking risks, they don't have access to this information. It comes back to that. They don't have the skills or the knowledge or the education for them to know that because prices have doubled every 10 years, because property values go up with inflation alone, and they have since 1942, around 7% a year, what that means is in 10 years' time, based on that data, the property will be worth more than it was at the peak of the market 2 months ago, right? If you've also got the property at 10, 20, 30% below the value that you've agreed today, in 10 years' time, or 7 years' time, or 5 years' time, or 3 years' time, or even 1 year from today, the new value that the property will be worth, just based on the market being the market, because it will always get better, that we all know. People can't think that far ahead at the moment because they're fearful and they're nervous and they're panicking. But as an investor, you know that the price will come back to where it was and then it will go up. So this strategy is about you guys going out and securing as much property as you can for £1, okay, £1, and then as it goes back up, and then you can lock in all of that profit today, and then pay for the property later. Pay for the property later. Buy now, pay later. Buy at the low price, and then pay for the property later, okay? And you release or you get that profit when the market has gone up. So you enter into the deal now, agree to buy the property now, lock in the price now. Now at any time between now and however long you agree, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, then you sell the property, or you complete on the property and move in, or you sell it to an investor, or you sell it on the open market, and then that's when you've made the difference. If it's gone up by 20%, 30%, 50%, even 100%, the market is the market. So as long as you understand that, and you're happy to take risks and enter into deals today, which is more or less exchanging contracts in a different way, but you're delaying the completion until a point in the future, 3, 5, 7, 10 years later. So when it's gone up in value, when it's worth a lot more, that's when you sell the property. And you can do that at any time during the agreement. Maybe even in a month, it might be worth more than you pay today. Maybe it takes 6 months to be worth more. Maybe it takes 3 years. Maybe 5 years, then it's significantly profitable. And maybe 10 years, it's gone up maybe 50%. Who here, listening to this, doesn't think that's a good idea? to secure as much as you can now while it's falling, with the view to hold it long term for another cycle. If you don't think that's a good idea or a good strategy, where you're in a fantastic position to negotiate, you have all the leverage, and you don't have to put any money in, any of those guys that doesn't think this is a very good strategy or very good idea should probably listen to another episode of this podcast, okay? Because this is for entrepreneurs, this is for business people, this is for people looking for money hacks, people looking to grow and build and scale their company, increase their income, even during the economic crisis. Because that's where you really can make the most amount of money in the shortest possible time. It's where legacies, it's where futures, it's where you can really build something big and great and fast, because it's the massive transfer of wealth that is happening all around you right now. Now, this is how many times in your lifetime do you think this will happen? Exactly. How many times could something like this happen? It's at these times where you make the most money, okay? So let's go deeper into this training. I hope this makes sense to you guys. So let's think about, okay, when can it be used? You're probably thinking, when can this be used? Now, let me explain when this can be used. You see a vendor, a homeowner, someone selling a property, and they're listed on the market with multiple agents. Now, that means they're motivated, okay? That means they have some pain, that they're motivated. When you find out what their motivation is, it may just be the climate, they need the money, maybe they just need to get rid of the property, maybe they need to move. There could be a multitude of reasons of why they're motivated. But when you see them selling with multiple agents, it means they're motivated, okay? Now, another way to see that they're motivated is they have the property available to rent and to buy at the same time. So separately, it's up for sale and they're also looking for a tenant. That also means they're motivated, okay? Or there may be a case of the vendor is selling a property without using an agent. So this means they're not using an agent, it's for sale on one of the for sale by owner websites, or they've paid the £99, etc., just to list the property on, say, Rightmove, and then you know that they maybe don't have the money, so they maybe don't have the margins, so they're not in a good position to negotiate. If they're not even using a decent online agency that provides some service and case progression and everything else to help the sale moving forward, or they're trying it on their own for the list only to save money, instead of using a conventional estate agent, okay, where most people still go. The online is a very small margin. So when they're doing it on their own, it usually means they're motivated. Maybe it's to do with money, okay? Very important that you find out the reasons behind the motivation, which you'll find out just by talking to them and asking questions. So, if you find one of these properties that's on with dual agents, multiple agents, or it's on to rent and it's on for sale at the same time, or they're trying to sell it themselves, okay? So this means they are motivated, okay? So if any of you guys listening right now to this talk are thinking of getting into property, or you're already in property and you want to build your portfolio, grow your portfolio now as fast as you can while the prices are falling, buying on the way down to make the most amount of money, or some of you guys want to use this as a pension fund for later, okay? Locking in the price now, 10, 20, 30% below the value from last year, locking it in today, right now, we're in March 2020, because of what's happening in the world with the coronavirus, which is obviously horrendous. It's absolutely fine for you to make money and grow your business and build your company right now, but some people have a view that you shouldn't profit, but we're in business, we're entrepreneurs, solving problems at the same time for investors, for landlords, for homeowners, for sellers, for people, for companies, for organizations, for everybody. at the same time making a profit. So it's win-win. That's what we're here for. That's what my audience does. So we all understand that. And don't worry about anybody else outside of these communities that are not looking for profit or to solve problems. Maybe they're looking for something else, okay? Now, that's absolutely fine, making money during this climate. It's terrible to make money by, buying up all the face masks and then selling them for 10 times the amount. That's not good. But it's absolutely fine to make money, make a profit, and help people at the same time, okay? So if you want to be investing, okay, in high cash flowing properties that will give you a lump sum of money as they naturally go up, and you're looking to invest in no money down property. Remember, it's £1 down, or from £1 down, you can enter into these deals. So this is the strategy for right now in 2020. So if any of you guys are looking to grow your portfolio, build your portfolio, make some more money, increase your cash flow, keep the wolves from the door right now, secure a pension fund, secure £1 million worth of property. So when it goes up in the next cycle and it's worth double, it's now worth 2 million. Or secure £5 million worth of property now. When it goes up, it's worth £10 million. Okay, so whatever your appetite is, or whatever your number is, or however much you need, right now is that time for you to secure your financial future, to build a wall around your family, a financial wall, a fortress around your family. Right now is the time when you can do that, and it's a lot easier when the market is falling. Trust me. I am not new to this at all. I'm not new to this strategy. I haven't just read it in a book or somebody else's Facebook post or some online guru that's never actually done it. I've been doing this for a long time, okay? I've been using options and delayed completions and guaranteed rental strategies and every strategy you can actually think of, and many more that you wouldn't even know about, since the year 2000 when I started to invest in property. This particular strategy I exhausted from around 2008, okay? Because that was the only time that this strategy would work, okay? Or you could get the maximum impact or the maximum leverage, or there was enough deals going around because the market was falling, okay? So we've been using it for a very, very long time. That's over a decade. That's actually 12 years right now since I started to use this strategy. And as it happens, I gave a talk on this particular strategy. I think it would have been about 2009 or maybe even 2010, or between 2009 and 2010. I gave a talk on this particular strategy with another strategy that I use in Piccadilly, in London, in Waterstones, at the top floor of Waterstones. There was probably 120, 140 high net worth individuals, investors hungry for this information, wanting solutions like we are right now in the falling market. And that's exactly where we were 12 or 10, 11 years ago, doing the same thing that I'm doing right now, talking to a group of entrepreneurs, investors, high net worth individuals, people looking to make more money, scale, people looking for the solution to their problems, investors looking for how they can make money now in the aftermath of the crash. I was already doing this 10 or 11 years ago, okay? If you're an entrepreneur looking for the easiest and fastest way to replace your salary in 2020, using the latest property investment strategies that are built for the now, which enable you to replace the average salary. I'm talking about around £28,000 a year. That's without buying a single property. So that you can get your time back to spend those important moments with your spouse, with your family, with your children, and start earning what you're worth. Now, I created a 90-minute free training program that you can all watch right now. It's 100% free. Now, it walks you through a property investment strategy that enables you to pay the landlord £1,000 in rent per calendar month and collect around £3,000 in rent per calendar month. Now, this means you get to ethically keep that uplift, which is around £2,000 every single month per property. Now, if that's something that your family would benefit from, you should head over to www.perfectpropertydeal.com. That's perfectpropertydeal.com, and watch my free training while it's still up. So the point I'm trying to get across to you guys right now is when you solve these sellers' problems that need this information, they need this solution, they need your solution, they need your help. It's very satisfying to do that, and it's very, very rewarding financially, okay? So it's a good balance of helping these people at the same time as building your company, building your brand, supporting your family, okay? Now, you're probably thinking, well, what are the opportunities, or, why should I be doing this? So I'm just going to reinforce that a little bit more so you guys really understand and believe how this could help yourself and it helps other people at the same time. Because if you think, if property prices have doubled every 10 years in a cycle since 1942, it's an absolute no-brainer for anybody thinking about maybe getting into property, or should I get into property? Everybody wants to be in property. So if you're not already in property, now is that time for you to take the leap, for you to take some risks, for you to earn the maximum amount of money you can in a falling market. And when you look back in 2, 3, 5, 10 years about the decision that you made back then at that moment, and now you're worth a fortune, and now you can live the life that you deserve, and now you're not exchanging your time for money, and now imagine how your family would look at you. Imagine how your spouse or your partner or your children would look at you about the decisions that you made back then at the right time, with the right information, listening to the right podcast, with the right people that gave you the confidence to put yourself in this position. Imagine how that would feel. And then think on the other side of the coin, if you didn't, the regrets you would have. You'd beat yourself up each day thinking, oh my God, I missed the 2001 boom, and then it bust in 2008, and then I missed the 2010 boom, and then it bust in 2020, and then I missed the 2020 or the 2022 maybe boom, and now it's too far away, the property market, and now I'm just not going to do it. And now 25, 22 years has gone by, or 30 years has gone by, and now I'm just not really interested in property, or I haven't got the money or the confidence or the skills or the attitude or the appetite. Having regrets, okay? If you regret missing the 2010, boom, you can overcome that right now. If you have regrets missing the millennium boom, and again, you can put those right now, because now is the time where if you're thinking of getting into property, or you've got some property, or want to expand your portfolio, or build your company, increase your cash flow, it's right now, guys. It's standing there right now, waving at you, saying now is the time. As long as you have the education, as long as you have the skills, as long as you have the attitude, as long as you've got the belief in yourself and the belief in the strategy, right now is that time, which doesn't come round very often, believe me. I've been doing this for over 20 years, invested in property, high cash flowing properties, and I've learned along the way. I've made lots of mistakes. I've mistimed markets by not knowing. Looking back in hindsight, I should have gone all in at certain times and squeezed all the juice out of the deal, but something held me back and I didn't. And that was literally confidence, or having access to the right information, or, trusting my instincts, or being around the right people, or having the right mentor at the right time. So I would have gone all in further. Yes, I made a lot of money. Yes, I made a lot of mistakes. I left hell of a lot of money on the table just by not going all in when I should have gone all in. I mean, 2000, 2001, I should have gone all in further. I did buy several hundred properties, but that wasn't enough. I could have bought properties in Knightsbridge, in Mayfair, in those parts of West London, in Westminster, which back then were around £500,000. But I was buying properties on the south coast, which were £42,000 and £90,000. Okay, if I would have bought something back then in Westminster, which just comes back to having education, right? For £500,000 back then, which again, I could have got the finance. I just wasn't thinking big enough. I got finance for other deals. I got multi-million pounds worth of finance for lots of different deals. But at that time, I wasn't thinking big enough. If I was, something that I could have purchased for £500,000 in the year 2000, several million pounds it would have been worth. Several million pounds it would have been worth. 6, 7, 8 million pounds it would have been worth not too long ago. If I would have just thought and, gone bigger and gone all in and looked in those areas instead of having, 5 properties to equal the same value in an area which wouldn't rise as fast and as much, I could have just had one. So yes, I have regrets, and it would have made several million pounds. I could have made 5, 6, 7 million pounds from just one of those deals. So yes, I look back with regrets, but we're at that time now, okay? So you're at that crossroads now, where if you do the right things right now and start to invest in these buy now, pay later properties, that just takes time and takes education and takes commitment, then you can then start living the life that you and your family deserve and stop exchanging your time and your life for money, okay? It doesn't cost anything to get into these, or it costs from £1. If you can't find £1 at the moment, you're not an entrepreneur. You're not a business person if you can't find £1 to invest into some of these deals. Okay, some need more money, but it's from £1. Okay, guys? Now, there is a window of opportunity, okay, when you make the most money. There is a window which all of you guys will know if you just sit down and look back over time, over history, where these windows were. For example, Bitcoin. If you invested in Bitcoin in the early stages or when it went bust and went down rock bottom, okay, you could have got something for pennies, just hardly anything at all. And then it went up to nearly $20,000, okay? It comes back to timing. Or when the Bitcoin crashed from the $20 all the way down to, $20? $20,000 all the way down to about 5 or 3. Look at the swing there. If you would have gotten at the bottom and when it went up and rallied again, look at how much money you've left on the table, okay? So it all comes down to the one thing. You've got the education. You don't need the money. It's timing. Timing the market, which is a very rare thing that can be done because it's just naturally part of the cycle. And the cycle is the cycle. We can't control that. We can only take advantage of it. And it is here right now, March 2020, in the heart of the coronavirus. It's only just started. It's going to get worse and worse and worse before it gets better. The worse it gets, unfortunately, is the better it is for investors, which is bad. We don't want it to get worse, but what's happening is out of our control. I just want all of you guys on here listening to this episode, listening to my content, listening to this training, which I'm giving away to you guys 100% free. There's no £10,000 mentorship for you to pay. I'm just trying to give you guys as much value as possible. This is like an emergency episode where things are changing, the market's changing quickly, and I want all of you guys, my listeners, my audience, I want you to be informed so you know what strategies we're using right now, and you know what you need to do right now, and you know where you need to go if you need some questions or you need some answers, okay? You can find me on social. You can even ask a question in a review to this podcast or to this episode. Just ask them away, or just send an email to my team. You can find me anywhere on social. I just want to make sure you guys have the tools, the strategies, the tactics, my way of giving back, showing you what we're doing, so you guys can go forward in your life and start to just capitalize on the market while you can. Okay, so you don't look back with regrets. Okay, so. If you can imagine how fast you act, right, is linked to how much money you will make. So when you think about those things, how fast you will act is linked to how much money you will make. The faster you act, the more you will make. The longer it goes on and the market gets to the bottom and starts to rise and confidence comes back and everything changes, because it does change like that. The sails, the wind in the sails, it just changes. You know, like the seasons. Once it's changed, you can't go back. So I'm just trying to reinforce that you need to be ready and in a position while it's falling to come in and take a position in the property market by doing some of these deals, okay? Buying now and paying later. So obviously the best, or to be in the best position, is why the market is falling. So why the market, or while the market is falling, you're in the best position. Does that make sense? When the market is rising and everybody is there queuing up, putting offers in, paying over the asking price, offering over the asking price, like what happens in a rising market, you lose that position of leverage. You lose that position of being able to negotiate, because if you don't take the property, somebody else will, and probably for more money. I remember what it was like, 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then again, 2010, 11, 12, 13, etc., and so on. As it's rising, there is somebody else, or every single day, the house is going up in value. That was amateur hour. We didn't have to do anything. You just bought a property. In 12 months' time, it's worth a hell of a lot more. So everyone was just buying a property. 12 months later, it's worth a hell of a lot more, and they're making money. Not by being clever, not by having some amazing skills, not by, spending 10 years at university. It was just taking a position in the market and putting their stake in the ground and saying, I'm in, and that's it. Okay? So that is what I want all of you guys to think about, to get yourself in that position, to be looking at the market, looking at some deals and working out where the opportunities are and how much it's fallen and why it's falling and fallen. You use this strategy, which is entering into a lease option agreement, it's called, where you secure the property at the price today, so you buy now and then pay later when the market is risen, when the market has come back, when it's doubled in value, if you wait, the full cycle again, okay? That's when you sell the property onto somebody else, or you refinance the property and you pay the vendor what you agreed 10 years ago, and everything else above you keep, okay? That's how this strategy works. Buy now, pay later. Because right now, my friends, it's the largest transfer of wealth. Right now. That's happening 2020. The largest transfer of wealth is happening right now. This is where, historical moments like this can make or break people, okay? So I just want you guys to be in a position where you understand how this strategy works, and you can go out and, look for these opportunities and then work out, obviously, which... basically, you can work out what your future is going to be like, as long as you take a position in the market, get into some of these deals, that the rents cover themselves, and then you can get all of the capital appreciation, all of the uplift when the market comes back. I just want to get that across to you guys, because right now, if you don't get into property, if you're too nervous or too fearful like the rest of the people, and you don't get into the market to start buying, you're going to be in the same position you are now, when everybody else who have made the smart choices to invest and use this strategy, then they will be ahead of you. So you'll be looking back with regrets, and you'll be in the same position you are now when they're way ahead, because they're playing the game. They've got skin in the game. They took some risks. They had access to the same information and they acted on it. That's the difference, okay? So if you're happy with having no job security, that's absolutely fine. Just do the same as what you did yesterday. You'll get the same results that you get today and the same results you'll get tomorrow, okay? And you're going to keep trading your life, trading your time, trading your time and your life for money. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to be trading my time and my life for money. I would rather have investments working for me by being smart and making the right decisions right now, which is getting into some of these deals, taking out as many, lease options as possible, exchanging on these properties now with a contract, buying now and paying later. Okay, the market, the strategy is for the now. It is built for the now. Okay, guys, I can't get that across enough to you guys. So I don't want you to miss out on this transfer of wealth that's happening right now in 2020, because if you just imagine in 3 or 5 years' time when property prices have, well, let's just say they've recovered in 3 or 5 years, and they dipped 20, 30, 40% maybe, I don't know how low it will go, and then they've come back. Now just imagine they rise by 10% above that. Imagine it rises by 20% above that, or even 40% above that, above what you bought the property for now, or what you can buy the property for now. But you've locked that price in now, and it's now 40% more, 30% more, 20% more. That's a lot of money. Say on an average house of £250,000, 20% of that is £50,000. 40% of that is a lot of money. Okay? So I don't want any of you guys on here to miss out, because you'd literally never forgive yourself. I know what I felt like with the regrets that I had by not squeezing all the juice out of the berry from 2000 all the way up to 2007. By not going all in. I bought several hundred properties and sold lots of properties, and I just didn't go all in enough. Like I said, the story I told you about not buying in Knightsbridge, not buying in Mayfair, not buying in prime real estate, that went up a lot more than what it went up in the areas that I bought. Still in the southeast, so I have those regrets. So I'm just hoping that I can inspire some of you guys, or let you have that shift in your mind that you think right now that this is the right time to be educating yourself along the lines of this strategy, which is called a lease option. I'm not going to go into all the details and all the little bits and the intricate little bits here. I'm just giving you the concept. I'm giving you the idea. I'm giving you the strategy. I'm giving you the know-how. I'm giving you the knowledge. And then obviously this works right now, guys. I can't stress enough. You can find out lots of things you need to find out just typing into a particular website that will give you lots of answers around this topic, which is called lease options, right? I'm not going to spend all the time explaining how it is and what it does and how it works and where you do it. It's very simple. It's called a lease option. So you go to this particular website and type in lease option. You ready? I'm going to give it to you right now. Get your pen ready. I'm going to give you the website, give you the address, and you can just type that word in, lease option, and you have a wealth of information. It's going to help you so much. Are you ready? It's called GOOGLE.com. You got it? Now that's something very funny that I heard a very long time ago from Gary V. And the way that he said it, I just have to credit Gary V with that, because I listened to him a lot. And when I was listening myself, a long time ago, and I was thinking, okay, what is the thing? Or what is the thing? And give me the thing. And, you give me this big picture and the broad thing. And I'm a big picture person, but the details and as well, I need the details and the tactics and everything else. So just give me the thing. What is the thing that just I need that little thing? And he was like, right, okay, so it's G. Yeah. O. Yeah, brilliant. O. Yeah, brilliant. G. Yeah. L-E. Fucking Google. You can find everything else out that you need to know without spending £10,000 on some mentorship with somebody to just tell you those things, okay, guys? I'm happy to answer some of your questions with all the details, okay? I just want to give you the framework. I want to give you the idea. I want to give you the concept. I want to give you the confidence. We're doing these deals. We've done these deals, many of these deals, okay? And the time is right now for you to use a lease option. It's very, very simple. You find a motivated vendor. Here it is. You find a motivated vendor. They're on with multiple agents. It's on to rent. It's on to sell at the same time. The market's falling. They're motivated. Okay? You just have a conversation with them. You discuss it with them. You find out what they need, what they want, how much is the mortgage balance, etc. Very important. When you know what the mortgage balance is, you know whether they're in negative equity, how much equity they've got, etc., etc. The lower the equity they have, the more leverage you have. It puts you in a higher position of power with the more, or the higher their mortgage is, as close as possible. When they're very, very close to what the house is worth, you're in a much better position to negotiate, especially when the market's falling. Even if they're in negative equity, this still works. This still works, because remember, the price today is a little bit irrelevant. It's still, you have to be mindful of it because you can't pay way over the price, okay? But you need to think about it. If property prices have doubled every 10 years and they've risen by 7% every single year, and you're buying a property today even at 10% below its value last month, or even 20% below its value last month, okay? You can actually buy it at the full market value, okay, that it was last month. So it might even be in negative equity today, because if you have got 5, 7, 10 years before you have to pay, and the market has risen at 7% a year every single year, on average, not every single year, on average. My correction there, I'm getting excited. My heart's pounding, I'm pumping, I'm excited. I'm standing up, doing this podcast right now. Very excited to be delivering this content to you guys, to help you guys. So when you're mindful of that and you've got 10 years, I would pay over the odds for a property today to secure the deal, knowing that I've only put £1 down. I've paid over the odds for it, that's fine. The rent covers the mortgage, or the mortgage payments every single month, because you're babysitting the loan, paying the mortgage for them during that period. It's all legal, it's all ethical, it's done with a lawyer. They can't change their mind. And then in 10 years' time, when the market's come back, or the market's doubled, or even gone up by 30%, you've made 30% on the value of the property. So you'd be going out, finding the most expensive, or building the most expensive portfolio you can, 500,000, a million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million. There's no limit to how much property you would acquire under this structure, because as it goes up in value, it's going up at scale. And you've secured it today at the low price, in the falling market, the bad market. People are nervous, people are fearful, people are getting out. When you're getting in, do I even need to tell you the story about Warren Buffett? If you just Google Warren Buffett and what he says about when you should invest, and when someone's doing something going one way, the market's going one way because they're fearful, other people, investors, smart people, clever people, need to be going the other way, against the tide of where everybody else is going. That's where and why the largest transfer of wealth is happening right now, okay? Right now. Because if you think about it, you already know, and you already wished that you bought a property after 2009, or just after the year 2000, because just £1 million of property right then, or back then in your portfolio, would have been worth around 3, maybe even £4 million by the end of 2019, right? And remember, you don't have to get a mortgage. You don't have to put a mortgage deposit in. You don't have to have good credit to do this. It starts from £1 down, so it's legal and it's binding and it's done through a lawyer. It's called a lease option. A lease option, guys, okay? Now, if you imagine, that would be a net profit of around £2 to £3 million. That cost you from £1 to put down. Now, I just want to end this podcast on that note, saying that you guys have the information now. You can get more confidence. You've probably got the confidence now from me delivering this talk to you guys, but you can get more confidence. You can go away and do some research. You can go and find out a bit more about this. You can use Google and type in that word lease option and how it works, and how to make money using lease options. I'm just glad that you guys now have access to this information, which is the strategies that I'm using right now in my business, and the strategies that I use to save me and save my companies in the aftermath of the 2007-2008 credit crunch to property crash, because it was this very strategy, lease options, securing as much property as I could back then for when the market come back, selling them, flipping them, trading them, flipping the contract onto somebody else, or releasing the money, selling them on the open market, selling them to investors, etc., to collect the new value, and then give the vendor the price I agreed 2, 3, 4, 5 years before. That's the power of this strategy, which is buy now and pay later. A lease option, guys. I hope you got some value from this episode. I would love to hear your thoughts. In these uncertain and difficult times, having the right tactics and strategies at the right time is how anybody gets to secure their financial future. The largest transfer of wealth is happening right now. I want to give you all the resources and the reassurance at no cost that guarantees you will win and profit from the property and economic crash today. Imagine what your business and your life will look like when you use the right tactics and strategies to pull you and your family through these difficult times, which is exactly what these tactics did for me and my clients and my loved ones after the 2008 crash. Now, I completely understand that money will be harder to find, which is why these strategies I'm giving you are no money down or very little money down, so minimal risk. And you don't even need to buy a single property to earn an additional £1,000 plus per calendar month and a 5 or even a 6-figure lump sum when the economy bounces back. Today you can get this training and the advantage for free that the so-called gurus would charge you thousands of pounds for. Just visit www.propertycrashcourse.com so you have all the tools, the tactics, the resources, and the reassurance to keep the cash flowing into your family and your business when you understand exactly how to profit in a property and economic crash. My friends, don't lose your advantage by doing nothing after listening to this talk.